Another scrimmage down, and the defense still continues to dominate.
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. I'm your host, Zac Blackerby, and thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. Joining me as he does every single Monday, it is the Lindsay Crosby of the Barn, Auburn.com, as well as other places. Auburn's in prime position for an elite 5-star defender. More on that in a bit, as well as, okay, what does the reaction to the scrimmage mean for game one against Baylor? But let's start with the talk of the Auburn fan base right now. Another scrimmage is behind us, Lindsay Crosby, and the defense continues to dominate. And I actually feel better about this one now than I did when we had this conversation around a week ago. It sounded like the offense had some moments, which is what we asked for. And it also seems to be like, despite all of this, the Auburn coaching staff still has tremendous faith in the offense. And I think that says something, despite, what the results have been in these scrimmages.
Yeah, and the defense being good obviously is a big deal because they haven't been at times. But to me, the offense getting those moments despite having multiple wide receivers banged up, I think is also a really big deal because we all considered that's the strength of this offense. Right. It's going to be able to move the ball through the air, the playmakers you have. And it's like Eric Singleton had a deep thigh bruise, missed practice on Thursday. Cam Coleman's been in a non-contact jersey. Barry Thompson had a brace on his knee. Malcolm Simmons, Bryce Kane were a little banged up.
Please stop. Stop listing all of these guys that are banged up.
Yeah, and Hugh updated that the medical team said the max any of them would miss is a week, right? It's not like they're going to miss the game, the Baylor game. But it's one of those things where hearing that so many of your studs out there are in some way limited or on a pitch count or whatever, and that you were still able to get those moments and have those flashes of great offense makes you feel like, okay, when people are in game week, in game speed, in the moment, you're going to be able to do what you have to do to score points.
Yeah, and I do think over the course of the offseason, all the names you just mentioned, there's so much star power on the offensive roster. It's not debatable. Auburn hasn't had this star power on the offense in a hot minute, especially the fact that the running backs don't really have that star power yet. I think they could, but they don't yet. It's pretty tremendous. But I do think that all the newness and the upside on the offensive side of the football has taken focus and conversation away from what the strength of this team is. And that's the defense. Mm-hmm. And this coaching staff firmly believes, and why they're not concerned about the offense, one, because they've coached before and they know what the offense is certainly capable of. But to me, Auburn has the chance to have an elite defense this season. And I think this coaching staff is leaning into that even more and more as we get closer to the season opener against Baylor.
Yeah, that's one of the downsides of college camp versus pro camp is you can't do joint practices with other teams. Right. You can't see this offense versus some other caliber defense. It's versus these guys. And to your point, they've got incredible depth up front, which we haven't seen in a while. They have both the stars and the depth. They have a ton of athleticism at linebacker, a ton of experience, and just really, really good-looking guys in the backfield. Just defense looks to be great, and it's very much colored our perception of the offense because we hear about offensive struggles, and you think in a vacuum, oh, well, the offense is bad. No, the defense could be one of the better ones in the SEC. I saw that come up somewhere this last week.
Yeah.
And knowing that our offense can still make things happen, even given all of the minor injuries and how good that defense is, do you think Baylor's going to have a better defense than Auburn? No,
not at any level. Absolutely not.
And so we need to not freak out about the offense not being good when they only don't look good as compared to our defense, which we think is going to be fantastic.
And I do think the offense will be in a spot to get better over the course of the season. The key for the offense, and we'll talk more about this specifically to Baylor in a second, but the key to the offense is they just can't beat you. And there were times last year where the offense beat us, where Auburn beat Auburn, the pick six against Oklahoma, all the picks against Cal and Arkansas. And I mean, sadly, I mean, we've seen it several times in the first 2 years. For Missouri is the other one from last year specifically. And so to me, it's a conversation that we had early around Jackson Arnold, early in the offseason, and we've kind of gone away from that, but it's still true, is Jackson Arnold doesn't have to be great. He just has to be a guy that doesn't lose you football games. I think Auburn has the talent defensively, and I'm not even talking about Jackson Arnold's supporting cast. I'm talking about just the impact that I think the defense could have. He just has to not lose you any games. And if that's the case, I mean, that's a pretty low bar. And you can say what you want about Oklahoma's offense last year. Like, I don't think Jackson Arnold lost them games. If anything, he helped them win a few, especially the one against Alabama. So to me, Jackson Arnold doesn't have to be elite. He just has to be better than what Peyton Thorne was a year ago. And I think that's an obtainable mark day one, game one. And I think he can get better over the course of the season.
Can I put just the most orange and blue glasses you've ever seen and spin a common Jackson Arnold complaint we've seen in camp so far into a positive?
Please.
Okay. One of the biggest things people have complained about with Jackson Arnold from the limited viewings that we've seen is that he holds on to the ball too long.
Correct.
Which means you're usually taking sacks. Well, if he were to just scramble and rush and chuck a ball into coverage trying to get rid of the ball quickly when he didn't see a guy open, he's probably going to throw an interception. Which is worse, a sack or an interception?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's true. You may have pulled something with that stretch there, but I get it.
Yeah,
I totally
I
get
mean,
it.
it was
you may want to stretch your
my
hamstrings.
My hamstrings are sore. Yeah. But
right.
I mean, if the biggest complaint,
but you're right. Would you
rather
rather take a sack or throw a pick? Like in most situations, yes, that is true. Now, is that the conversation we should be having?
No,
about
it's
the
not.
offense? No, but to answer your question,
yes,
sure, I get the point.
To reach as far as I possibly can to find a positive from a what everyone perceives to be a big negative. You know, if you think about the fact that Auburn was 95th in turnover margin per game last year, it was negative. On average, they had more turnovers than takeaways on the season.
Yeah, that's got to change.
Yeah. And if you just turn one dumb interception into a sack, right there, you've probably gone a good way towards fixing that, not counting the defense hopefully being more aggressive with interceptions now that the defensive backfield is deeper again with forced fumbles from the line and all of that. So if nothing else,
I agree with that.
Right there, you fix it.
I agree with that. So what does this mean for Auburn's season opener against Baylor? I think it means good things, actually. That's next, right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show brought to you by our friends at Drip Drop. Lindsay, would you rather feel hydrated or dehydrated? Just real quick.
Zach, you got to hydrate to be great.
Yeah, I think so too. Would you rather be at the top of your game or the bottom of your game? Just real quick.
Absolute top.
Yeah, if you're trying to stay on top of your routine, whether it's workouts, long days on campus, or staying focused through back-to-back classes, hydration is where it all starts, and that's where our friends at Drip Drop come in. When I'm on top of my hydration, I notice I work better, I podcast better. Lindsay, you probably do money things better. We all do things better when you're hydrated, and Drip Drop can help you do all of that. Drip Drop is a doctor-developed and scientifically proven for fast hydration. It uses the perfect balance of sodium, electrolytes, and glucose to help your body absorb fluids quickly, delivering 3 times the electrolytes and half the sugar of your favorite sports drink. They've got a bunch of different flavors. In fact, you can get the variety pack. That's what we have. I love the watermelon flavor. My wife loves the lemon lime flavor. They're both good.
Fruit punch.
You're a fruit punch guy. I don't think I actually had their fruit punch yet. I had the watermelon. Once I find a flavor, something I like, I'm not a risk taker in that regard. So I'm sure I would like fruit punch as well. Right now, Drip Drop is offering Locked On listeners 20% off your first order. Just head to dripdrop.com and use promo code Locked On College. That's dripdrop.com, promo code Locked On College for 20% off today. Today's show is also brought to you by our friends at Kia Autosport of Columbus. If you're looking for your next ride and located near Auburn, you're in luck. Just a short drive away in Columbus, Georgia. Kia Autosport of Columbus is bringing the heat with the Kia Summer Savings event going on right now. Lindsay, would you rather pay full MSRP for a vehicle, a brand new Kia Sorento, or $3,000 off MSRP?
$3,000 off. You know who pays full price? Alabama fans.
Sure. On any select 2025 Kia Sorento model, you can get $3,000 off. All new Kia purchases come with tires for life and a lifetime powertrain warranty. Just ask your sales associate, and that should be Chris Child. When you get there, ask for Chris Child, mention the show, Locked On Auburn, and get an extra $500 off any new Kia. So head over to Kia Autosport of Columbus, just off of Whittlesey Boulevard in Columbus, Georgia, or visit KiaAutosportColumbus.com to browse their full inventory and start saving today. Thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. So what does this scrimmage news, this scrimmage development mean for Auburn versus Baylor? And the argument of, well, they're going up against the best, they being the Auburn offense, going up against one of the best defenses that they'll see all year. And even if even if we're slightly off on what Auburn's defense could be, I feel confident saying what Baylor does physically. I'm not talking about scheme, because I do think Dave Aranda's a good defensive coach. I don't want to take anything away from Baylor, because I really think they're a solid team. But what they're going up against physically every day in practice, I really think these receivers will feel a totally different world when it comes to taking the field Friday night in Waco to start the season.
Yeah, I mean, we say this all the time. It's a meme at this point. It's not about the X's and O's. It's about the Jims and Joes. And when you're facing better players. And this works both ways, right? This is for the defense too. They're having to cover Cam Coleman and Eric Singleton every day.
Correct.
When they turn around and they go into Baylor and they cover Baylor's guys, it theoretically should feel easier. It's like, hey, this dude's not getting through these breaks as quick as Eric Singleton does. This dude doesn't have both the height and the downfield speed of Cam Coleman. Like, it works both ways.
Right.
And going back to the first segment, being able to get those moments like, hey, this is something that worked. This route combination worked against Auburn's defense. We were able to squeeze the ball in there for a deep completion. What are we going to do against Baylor's defense when they likely, one, haven't seen this, two, are a little shocked by the caliber of these receivers?
Hope so.
And three, aren't as fast and strong as Auburn's defensive backs, who were able to disrupt this route a little more. Like, from a athleticism standpoint, Auburn has the advantage here. It's just a matter of executing.
Yeah, a matter of executing and a matter of just overall game plan. I mean, once again, physically, Auburn's defense is going to be able to do things physically and offense, like you said, are going to be able to do things physically that Baylor just cannot do because of personnel. But, I mean, we've had Cam Stewart, host of Locked On Baylor, on. He's very high on Baylor's offensive coordinator, repeatedly saying he's a top 10 offensive coordinator in college football, which maybe, possibly. It comes down to the scheme. And that's been my biggest question about this team all offseason was, okay, like, Coach Freeze, it's time. Like, you've got to outcoach some people. It's time for you to outcoach some people and put your guys into situations to succeed. And I don't think that's something that's consistently happened during the Freeze era.
Yeah, it feels like they've played down a little bit as far as being able to execute in those key moments. I don't know who to blame on that either. Like, some of it's the talent, some of it's the coaching staff. And Hugh Freeze has taken almost all of the blame on that himself. Like, we have to be better. We have to put them in better positions to succeed, etc. But we talked about this. This is put up or shut up time for everybody, for the players, for the coaches, for everybody. And I strongly feel like it's going to start versus Baylor.
I think it has to. If it doesn't, we've got some other questions that unfortunately we will have to start asking. So we'll see. We'll see. In regards to the matchup that I've talked about time and time and time again, it's the trenches. One of the things that we did hear from the most recent scrimmage was that the offensive line tended to struggle at times. Now, that could be several things, right? This is a new offensive line. I mean, some of these guys didn't go through spring, and so the starting five is still gelling. They've only been playing together for a few weeks as full group of five. And so I do wonder is it the communication? Is it assignment based, or is it just they got beat physically by the defensive line, or is it a combination of all three of those things? That to me is something, because the reason I felt confident in this matchup with Baylor is because of the trenches, both sides of it. I liked Auburn's O-line versus Baylor's D-line, and vice versa. I liked Auburn's D-line versus Baylor's offensive line. I still stand by that, but it's worth noting that multiple reports surfacing that Auburn's offensive line was a problem for the offense during the most recent scrimmage.
And again, how much of that is this defensive line is really good and really deep?
Right.
That's the hard part, is we don't know. And
Baylor does not have a Keldrick Falk.
Yeah.
I don't think they have a Kieran Crawford either. I don't think they have a Malik Blockton.
And I'm one of those people who I think talk probably more than anybody else really should about this, about how the chemistry matters. The more time these guys get together, the better that they are. And this is something where offensive line, you're bringing in transfers, you're plugging in guys, you're moving guys around.
Yeah.
Theoretically, the weakest performance you'll see all year, barring health, is going to be in week one. And I think you do work out as far as, yes, it's not a paycheck game, but it is it is a tougher opponent, but it's not a opponent to the caliber of, like, we're not thinking they're going to make the college football playoff. Like, you're not having to go into a top 25 school. It's a good challenge, but it's still manageable for week one. So
I do think if trench play goes the way I think it's going to, and it just becomes an ugly football game, it's kind of gross, not clean, chaotic, I do think that benefits Auburn. If it's all fireworks and both offenses are crisp, I get a little concerned, because that's Big 12 style of football. That's not SEC. I don't think that plays to our strength. And that also makes us ask questions about, Auburn's defense for the long haul. So if it's a scrappy football game, which is kind of what I'm starting to lean towards, I think that helps the Tigers, and trench play has a big part in that.
The flip side of that for me is, do we feel better about Baylor's clear number one running back or Auburn's running back by committee? Because I feel like in those types of football games where neither team can move the ball down the field that well, the running game ends up being a bigger component than maybe Auburn would like it to be.
Sure.
Because, I mean, if you're doing your perfect game plan, Auburn's throwing the ball significantly more than they're running.
Yeah.
Right. At least until they have a lead in all of that during the competitive parts of the game. And if it gets ugly, if it gets into 3 and outs on both sides and just inability to move around, can Baylor lean on their running game more than Auburn can? Or is this something, since Baylor's lost their key backup, they are either running him into the ground in week one, their starter, or going to somebody unproven, whereas Auburn can rotate in fresh bodies because you've got 3 or 4 guys you can throw in there. That's the flip side of this. Like, there's so much back and forth, and we will know soon, everybody. We will know soon.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's kind of something that I do think is a good question, because in a vacuum, I'd feel better about Baylor's starting running back than Auburn's running back by committee.
Yeah.
But it's about matchups.
Yep.
And if it's Baylor's running back, Washington, versus Auburn's front seven, I think I like Auburn's front seven.
Yeah.
And then if it's Auburn's running game that also involves Jackson Arnold and RPO elements,
yeah,
as well as, jet sweeps, whether you're getting it to, any of the playmakers that we've talked about.
Yeah.
With Malcolm Simmons or Eric Singleton, like I think that one's closer, but I would rather be on the Auburn side of it, I think. So it's a good question. It's a question worth asking for sure. All right. Auburn is in a prime position to land a 5-star safety. That's next, right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show brought to you by our friends at Game Time. Have you ever decided at the last minute to head to a ball game with friends or family? Maybe it's game day and you suddenly realize, gosh, I just want to be there. That's exactly where Game Time comes in. It's the easiest way to grab last minute tickets without the stress. Lindsay, personally, I can't imagine buying tickets anywhere other than with our friends at Game Time.
Listen, as a baseball fan, you deal with this all the time. You're like, hey, you know what? Great pitching matchup today. I want to go to the ball field. Guess what? Boom. You open the Game Time app. The prices usually drop the closer you get to first pitch. You can see exactly where your seats are. Am I going to be stuck in the sun? Am I going to be in the shade? Where's the closest adult beverage concession stand? All of that stuff. Boom. You can see it all right there from your seat view. Fantastic app. I couldn't imagine getting tickets from anywhere else. Guy on the street corner? No, he doesn't know what your seat looks like. He has no clue.
No, that's true.
There's no Game Time guarantee with him either.
Create an account. Use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account. Redeem with code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets. Lowest prices guaranteed. Thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. The crystal balls are coming in. The Fong bombs are coming in. The RPMs are coming in. And also just some of the folks I talked to over the weekend. The confidence that Braylon Womack will be an Auburn Tiger is at an all-time high. And it's been pretty high. It's been one of the worst kept secrets in recruiting for weeks. But Braylon Womack, the 5-star safety from Hartfield Academy in Mississippi, it came down to Auburn and Ohio State, and it sounds like Auburn closed the deal or is dang close to closing the deal. So he is announcing on August 21st, which is just a few days away. And Lindsay, it seems like this Thursday, he will pick the Auburn Tigers. That's the favorite right now.
Can I be a little petty for a second?
Go ahead.
I was told by very credible random people on the internet
that
Auburn would never be able to get a top recruit because Hugh Freeze took a quiet time in the month of June to go play golf and get cancer treatments. What do you mean to telling me a 5-star that is going to be the number one safety in the country and a top recruit and one of the highest rated recruits in Auburn history could commit on Thursday? I was told that was not possible because Hugh Freeze had the audacity to play golf on his month off. Wild
stuff. So yeah, Braylon Womack, it appears to be part of this class. So just looking at 247's recruiting calculator, if they add Womack to the class, Auburn's currently sitting at 54.
Okay.
They would jump to 35 with the addition of Womack, which is kind of crazy.
You don't hate that. I don't think you hate that.
No, I'm okay with that for sure. Absolutely okay with that for sure. And then if you add Ernest Rankins, which seems to be the next positive flip candidate, Auburn would jump up to 23. I mean, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
It's not bad.
And then if you just win some games, I think Auburn's recruiting is going to be just fine.
That's impossible, Zach. I was told it was over.
You're right. He golfed a few times in June and logged his scores. Oh, my goodness.
You know what he should have been? He should have been down in Boca Raton on a boat the whole time. Lane Kiffin does that and nobody says a word. Lane Kiffin does it during the season and nobody says a word.
The difference is he's not logging the fish.
There you go.
Just don't log the scores.
Bassmasters, if you have the numbers, release them.
Braylon Womack's impact. I mean, this is a guy who's so good that other guys are going to want to play with him. I mean, this guy is elite. This guy is going to be, you don't get these type of accolades if you're not expected to be an elite player quickly in this conference and then to be looked at and identified at the NFL level. not super tall. He's not as tall. According to 247, he's like right at 6 foot. And so that's kind of a thing where like that might hurt him from a draft perspective, but goodness gracious, can he play, and he will be exceptional at the college level. And you just think about the future of Auburn's defensive backfield. We'll see what happens with Sylvester Smith. I think he could go pro after this year, depending on the type of season that he has. But when you talk about Fagans and Caleb Harris and Eric Winters and all of these guys that they're going to have as like these middle of the field defenders, when Braylon Womack, assuming he picks the Auburn Tigers, when he's a freshman, I mean, talk about just pure athleticism. It might be one of the most athletic rooms Auburn has ever had.
And he's the type of dude, because he's done so many things in high school, you can have 10 guys with rigid assignments and you can find opportunities to work him in and just let him do whatever, right? Kind of reminds me of how, and he's not the same player. I'm not comparing these two, but my thought process is how you see some of those elite instinctive safeties, a Troy Polamalu, Honey Badger, they would just kind of put them on the field and they have a loose responsibility, but they just react and use athleticism to make plays.
Yeah.
He won the Gatorade Mississippi Player of the Year award as a junior. Not a senior, a junior. Then he went to the Navy All-American Bowl and looked very, very good as a junior.
That's correct.
I mean, he can, like, there's things if you watch him, he does stuff that reminds you of some of the really good safeties, like baiting quarterbacks into making bad throws, right? Where he has his back turned, making the quarterback think he's not there, and then he breaks on the ball as they're passing.
Right.
Coming down as an open field tackler, just, manning up guys, zone coverage when he needs to, working all different areas of the field, right? The deep third, covering flats in the box. It's one of those, like, he can do almost anything.
Correct.
And
so
so
five star. He's so good.
Yeah, it just puts you into a position where he gives you so much versatility in your defense. And can you imagine this defensive coordinator with a guy like that he can just scheme into doing 5 different things on 5 consecutive plays? You never know what he's going to do. That's the kind of thing that makes offensive coordinators have nightmares and not sleep the night before a game.
Yeah, I mean, especially, we'll see how much he plays as a freshman, but I can't imagine that Auburn's going to not put him on the field. But, I mean, you'd have a guy like DeMarcus Riddick on the field at the same time, too. And, like, that's Jay Crawford's got another year left. I mean, you talk about, like, the 2026 Auburn defense. Like, goodness, I know you're losing Keldrick. They're going to have to replace some guys, but goodness gracious, the core of this team seems set for the next few years, especially on the defensive side of the ball, which is awesome. So,
which is
once again, that's assuming Braylon Womack picks Auburn on Thursday, but it does seem like there's a ton of momentum that has happened there in favor of Auburn and against Ohio State.
Yeah. And, hey, hate it for you, Ohio State. End of the day, if you don't like it, be better.
Sure. All right. Lindsay Crosby, how can people check out everything you've got going on?
I'm on social media at Crosby Baseball. A lot of Braves content. BravesToday.com's the newsletter. Braves Today podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. You can also get the postcast after every Braves game, Locked On Sports Atlanta, and all the Auburn baseball stuff, thebarnauburn.com.
So much stuff. Please like the video. Please subscribe, and we will see you next time. This has been Locked On Auburn.